Hi everyone, it's Kyara here. So today we're going to be doing our first Code Equal online lesson. We're going to be doing a little coding macarons animation. I hope you're all staying healthy and safe and doing all your schoolwork. I know school has been a bit stressful for me as well because, online learning isn't all that easy, but we're going to all get through it great. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to open CodePen.io, which is the website that we've used in class before. So my screen looks like this, but what you can do is you can create an account. You don't have to create an account, but I would recommend it, so you can save all your work. There's a little create account button or sign in button, or sign up button, and you can just create an account there. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to start coding, right? So there's a little button in the top right corner that says pen, so you can click that, or if you cannot create an account, you can just press start coding. So I named mine Code Equal Macarons. So we're going to be doing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, all different coding languages. We're not going to be doing Python today, but another day we will. So the first thing that you want to put in your HTML is you want to create a div class, right? So you want to say div ID is equal to box, and then class is going to equal to box. Yeah, okay. And then we're going to create another div. Class is equal to, so this is going to be our first macaron. So macaron, and then it's going to be a green one. Okay, and then we can close that. Let me just stretch this a little bit so that you can see it all in one line. Okay, so then we're going to say div class is equal to face, because our macarons are all going to have faces. And then we're going to close that. And then we always want to have a closing tag for div. So we want to say div, and then with a backward slash in front. So remember that when you create a tag, you always want to close it. That's very important to know. So we can do another closing div tag here. Okay, so now we're going to want to do the same thing, but for our pink macaron. So we can say div class is equal to macaron, and then, oops, sorry, my spelling's a little crazy today, pink. Okay, then we want to close that, and then we want to do the same thing we did before. Div class is equal to face. And I'm going to close that and then do a closing div tag. Oops. Whoa. Okay, there we go. Sorry, my typing. Okay, and then we want to do another closing div tag there. Okay, now we want to do the exact same thing again, but for our natural colored macaron. So div class is equal to macaron, and then we can make that one pink. Okay, now we want to do the same thing for the face. We want to have div class is equal to face, and then we want to have closing tag div. Okay, now we can do two more closing tags, and then we'll be all set for our HTML. There's not a lot of HTML in this code, but there is more CSS and JavaScript to do. Okay, so this is all of our HTML. So now that we're done with that, you can save your code if you want, if you do have an account. So now let's move on to our CSS. I'm just going to close the HTML a little bit, close the JavaScript a little bit, just so you can focus on the CSS. So the first thing we want to do is say dot box. So this is going to be where our little macaroons are. So we want to do the position first. So position is going to be relative to where everything else is, right? And then we want to have our margins. We're just going to make those auto. We want to have our display be flexible, so you can say flex. We want to make our width of our box 600 pixels. Our height is also going to be 600 pixels. So one thing, if you are getting any errors, it may be because you are forgetting your semicolons or your colon. So a good way to check if you do have something maybe misspelled or something wrong is the color. So these should be the colors that they are. So if it's not that color, you might want to check. So background, you can use this color, or you can go into the color picker and change that. I like this color, so we're going to go F6 CEE 3. Oops, 3. Sorry, I was holding the shift button. Okay, and then close that. So now we want to do our Z index. So I'm sure you know that in math there is X and Y, right? But we can actually use Z here, which is representative of kind of, this is how we're going to make it look more 3D instead of just being flat on the screen. So then we want to have justify content. So justify content, basically it's going to define how the browser distributes the space around our content. So we want to say space around. Okay. And then we want to align our items. So we're going to align all the macaroons in the center. So all of this is kind of going to make more sense when you see it, when you see the macaroons on your screen. You can already start to see what you have here. So this is our box, and it's the color that we chose up here. You can always change that color. I'm just using this color because I like the color. Okay, and now we're going to say flex direction. See, it's already saying I have to save my code. Direction. So flex direction, we're going to want to make it in a column as well. Actually here, for align items, I meant to say center. And then here is column. So now we want to make the box sizing. So this is going to make it so that we can have padding and a border with our elements height and width. So box sizing, border box, right, so that we can have padding, and then padding is here. We can make that 1 rem for the size. Oops, see, I forgot my colon. 1 rem, 3 rem. Okay, and then we can close, well, I already closed it, but you guys can close it up there. So now we are going to want to do dot macaroon. So this is going to be for our first macaroon, or this is going to be kind of general for all our macaroons, and then we can go into specifics with the rest of them later on in the CSS. So you can already see that this has kind of more to do with the specifics of how everything is going to look on the screen, which is important to know about CSS. So we want to make each one 150 pixels. We want to make the height 100 pixels. And if I'm typing a little fast, you guys can always slow down the video or pause. And if you have any questions, you can just email us and we will respond. 50% for our border radius. Okay, and that's all we need for our general macaroons. So now let's do the green macaroon. So we want to say macaron dash dash green, and you can see that's what we named it in our HTML. So now I'm gonna make the background for this one this color, but you can do any color you want. Oh, you can already see right there. It's coming in. So 7F. And I find these colors, there are different colors that you can choose from if you just searched up HTML color wheel, you can find the hex code for that. So box dash shadow. So we want to have a little shadow behind the macaroon so it looks kind of cute. So we can make that 0 pixel, 13 pixel, 0 pixel, negative 2 pixel. And then let me see how this is. So that's like the inside of the macaron. You can see it here that it's starting to form. It's kind of cool because CodePen lets you see your work automatically, so you don't have to run it like in Python. It's a little annoying the way that you have to run it every time in Python. Okay, and then so 0 pixels, 30 pixels. So this is for the layering. 0 pixels and 0 pixels. So you can see that it's starting to do that. And for this color, we're just gonna make it the same as the other color, the background color. Alright, so that should change. Okay, let me make this a little easier to see, like there. So you can see this is for the middle, this is for the other one, for the other layer, the bottom layer of the macaroon. Okay, and then we can do 6 pixels for this, 35 pixels, 10 pixels, and then 0 pixels. And then for this color, I want it to be 7C, 7C, 7C. Yeah, and then we can just end that there. Yeah, so that's our first macaron. You can see the shadow right here, and then these are the 3 layers that we added over here. Okay, so now we actually want to put a face on this macaroon. So we're gonna make the face for that, so dot face. So we want the height to be 15 pixels, the width to be 15 pixels, and the background, we can make that there. And then, so we want to make a border radius. And we can make that 50%. So we want to make our margins, so margin left is going to be 27%. I lost the percent sign there for a second. Our top margin, top, going to be 27%. Actually, we're going to make that 20% instead. And then for our box shadow, we need to have some specifics for that, so we want to make 50 px, 0 px, px is pixels, by the way, if you didn't know, and 0 pixels. And then we want to make that the same color as before. Okay, so this, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a transition. So the transition is actually going to be so when the mouse goes over the face, it's going to like ease in and out, which is what the term that we can use. So we're going to say transition, and then we want to say ease So the code is actually going to understand this. You'll see what I mean when you actually can see your macaroons. So see, these are the eyes, and they're kind of cute. It's looking cute already. We're going to add a mouth later on when we get to the JavaScript. It's going to be a little more animated when we do get to the JavaScript. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we're going to have face before and face after. So this is going to let us do our little transition when we do put the mouse over the face. So we're going to have dot face before. Okay. Another thing is you want to make sure you have both brackets, both of your curly brackets there, because that might give you an error, so you want to make sure when you go back, or if you see that there's anything wrong with your code, that might be why. Okay, so our height is going to be 30 pixels. Our width is going to be 30 pixels. And then our background color, we can make it 225 changes without a save. We will save it. You guys should just automatically save it every time you, not every time you write a new line, but pretty frequently. Okay, so that's the color that I want. So you can see it has like new eyes. Just scroll down, okay. So border radius, we're going to want that to be 50%. And then we want our position to be absolute. We want our top to be 150%, and then our left to be 120%. And then we want our transition, as we said before, to be ease in, out, and then we want that to be 150 milliseconds. And there we go. Oh, I just realized that I forgot an N right here. Yeah, so those are like the little mistakes that you can make when you're coding, so you want to always go back and check. I'm just going to do a little shoulder shrug since my back is hurting from sitting. You can do that as well. So then we want to have our face after. So dot face after. Okay. And then we want to do content. We want to do the same thing that we did with the other one. We want our content to just be empty, and then height is going to be 15 pixels. So this is going to change how thick the eyes are, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So they'll kind of go from like an oval into a line. So we want our width to be 40 pixels, and then we want our background to be C8, D8, 7F. So don't forget to put your hashtag there. I forgot for a second, but then I realized position is going to be absolute as well. So that's not changing. The top, I want it to be 150%. So this is how it's going to move around the position. So then the left is going to be 120%. There we go. I'm just going to add a space there so it looks nicer. Okay. Okay, and then our transition again is going to be ease in, out, and then 150 milliseconds. Okay, so that's for our face after, and we can do another closing. Let me just make sure our brackets are lining up. Yes. Okay, So now we're going to want to do our pink macaroon. Let me see. So this is our little green macaroon. You can see another pair of eyes there, but there's no macaroon there yet. So now we wanted to do our pink macaroon. So we're going to do a little bit of the same thing for this. So I want to do dot macaroon. It's going to be pink. And then, there we go. So background is going to be F3 9AAE. And then for our box shadow, we have 0 pixels, 13 pixels, 0 pixels, -2 pixels. And then that color, just FFF. For the actual macaroons, I would just recommend using the same color as me, except you can change like the background, but for the rest, maybe the same color. 0 pixels. And you can make the top of your macaroon and the middle of and the bottom of your macaroon different colors, but I would keep the middle white because that's usually just what it is. 0, 30, 0 pixels, and then 0 pixels again. And then we can make this F3 9AAE. Okay, and then we're moving on to our bottom layer of the macaroon. So we can do 3 pixels, 35 pixels, 10 pixels, and then 0 pixels. And then we can make that this color. We can do hashtag 7C, 7C, 7C. Okay. And then we can have dot face. So we're going to have to do the face again for our macaroon. If you want, for this, it's basically the same as this one. So what we can do is we can actually copy and paste this. So the way that you copy and paste is you select that part of the code, and then all you do is you say Command C, you go back down, and then you can just Command V. So you might have like a different computer, so you can look it up. You can say like, oh, how to copy and paste, or if you want practice typing, you can just retype that, and that's going to help you with your typing skills. Okay, and then we're going to want to have our face before. So you can see up here we did the same thing. So we can just also copy and paste the before and the after, because it is generally the same code since we are doing the same animation for each of the macaroons. So we can just move down here and do that. And I think if you go down here, we can already see our 2 macaroons. They're actually looking really cute. So yeah. So then we have our face after. And now we're going to want to do the code for our last macaroon, which is going to be macaroon. I always spell that wrong. Let me make sure I didn't spell it. Okay. So macaroon dash dash natural background. We're going to have FDD 4.9E box shadow, and then we're going to have to do all the colors and positions for those. So 0 pixels, 13 pixels, here we don't need the comma, ignore that comma, 0 pixels, and then -2 pixels. And then we're going to want to make that hashtag FFF. You guys don't have to do this type of spacing, you can just keep it going. I just am doing it so it's easier to see for you guys, and easier for you to see like how it actually works with the 3 layers. 0 pixels, and then 0 pixels, hashtag, and then we can do the same color we did before because this is going to be the bottom, like that. And then we're going to have our last layer, which is going to be 3 pixels, 35 pixels. See, I have 345 unsaved changes, but that's okay. 10 pixels and 0 pixels. And then, same as before, we can have 7C, 7C, 7C. There we go. And these are all colors. Every time you see like the hashtag and then these and then it's yellow, those are all colors. As I said before. So we're gonna want to do the same thing with our face. So with our face before and then our face after, we're actually using the same code. So you can copy and paste it. If you need help typing, like if you need more practice typing, I would just type it all yourself, because that is kind of useful to have that under your belt. You can use this time that we have to practice your typing, so that when we go back to the classroom, we're all set with that. And I think, so the face after, we're going to want to have an extra bracket in our code. Okay. Where did our Macaron go? Maybe we don't need these. Maybe it might be better to not have an extra bracket at the end of the afters. Okay, so here are our macarons, looking cute. Okay, so let's move to the bottom. Now we're going to want to have .macaron. Oops, sorry, my caps lock is on. Macaron hover. So this is how we're going to do the little the thing with our mouse when it moves over it. So we're going to have .face and then border radius 0, and then height. Oops, spelled height wrong. Height is going to be 3 pixels. Okay. So let's see. For some reason, this is not turning a different color. Macaron. Let's see if that works. It's not working yet. So let's just go back through the code and see what is going on here. .face, Macaron. Okay. Well, actually here, we're going to want to make this the same color right here for the background. So I want to make it the same color, so make sure to switch that when you're copying and pasting here. So I want you now to go back and make sure that all of your colors are correctly corresponded, and that so basically your code should look like this, and then once you touch Macaron, the eyes go like that. So this is all the CSS for it. What I did is I went back, just making sure there were no errors for you. So if you want to look and see, I'll just slowly scroll down. You can pause or slow this down to make sure that everything is correct in your code. So little errors that you can make is forgetting a semicolon, or writing a semicolon instead of a colon, or a colon instead of a semicolon. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure that for your face after, you want to have 2 brackets here for all of them. So I'm just slowly scrolling down so you can check and make sure that your code is the same and that it looks like this. This is the HTML. We did that before. That should be fine. So yeah, it should look like this. And now we want to move on to the JavaScript. Okay, so let's go to our JavaScript right here. I'm just going to make this smaller. So this is basically going to be, the first thing we want to do is set up our HTML. So we want to make a variable. We'd say faces HTML collection, and then we want to say equals document.getElements by class name. So if you remember, in our HTML we created different classes. So we had macaron pink, macaron green, we had our natural macaron, we had our box. So that's just gonna be so we can get those by their class name. And then inside here we want to say face. Var faces array. So this is basically setting it up so we can actually do like an animation with the actual faces and call them by their class name. Array dot from, and then this is going to be from our faces HTML collection. Okay, so now we're going to have our input set up. So we're going to input, so we can have var input is equal to, and I want to make brackets, so we want to say mouse x. And then here we're going to have the start is going to be 0, and the end is going to be the window dot inner height. And then the current is going to be 0. Okay, and then after our second bracket, we can just put a semicolon there. Okay, and now we want to put the range and the end and the start for our mouse, where our mouse is. So we want to say input.mouse x.range is going to be equal to the input of the mouse x dot end minus the input dot mouse x dot start. So I'll explain this in a second. And then we want to have the same thing for our y. So what you can do is you can just highlight this, copy it, paste it, and then change the x into a y. Like that. Okay, so what this is doing, so our mouse starts somewhere and it ends somewhere, and that range we want to find. So if we take the end value and the start value and we subtract them, then we can find that range and make it equal to the range, if that makes sense. Okay, and now we want to do our output setup. So we want to say var is output. Make that equal to, so x is going to be, the start is going to be 8. The end is going to be -8. And our current is going to be 0. Okay. And then we can do in here, we're going to do our y as well. So we can just do a comma at the end here so you can see that. So the y, our start. So our start, current, and end are going to be the same. So we can just copy and paste that in here. Like that, and then we can have a comma here. Okay, and if you get like a little error mark here, just make sure that my code and your code are the same, because that means that there is an error that you need to fix. Okay, so now we can do our output ranges. which is going to be pretty much the same as we did up here with our input ranges. So what we can actually do is we can just copy and paste this and then change. So you see here that we have input in all of these, and so now we can do output. So we can just change all of these to output. And it's basically the same thing. To find the range, you find the end, you find the start, subtract them, and then that's your range in between. Okay, and then we want to make our var. So when I say var, so see I have an error here. And unexpected end of script. Okay, so we can change that later. Here, let me save. Make sure you are saving your code. So let's see. Unexpected end of script. So let's just make sure that there is an end. So we have our X, we have our start, we have our end. Okay. I think that error should be fixed along the way. It'll be okay. Handle mouse move. See, now it disappeared because we changed this. So equals function event. And then we want to have our parentheses. See, so errors are going to keep showing up and then disappearing as you type. Don't worry about it. We can fix anything that we need to fix at the end. So input.mouse x.current and current should actually be lowercase is equal to event dot client x. Okay, and then we want to have input.mouse x dot fraction is equal to input dot mouse x dot current, and then we're going to want to subtract the input dot mouse x dot start, and you want to make sure that all your x's are uppercase. Keep that consistent. Okay, slash, so divided by the input mouse, oops, input dot mouse x dot range. So you can see down here that we're going to keep getting errors and losing errors as we put more variables in, as we change different things. Okay, so now we're going to want to make our mouse Y input, because we already made our mouse X input. So this was our mouse X input. Now we're going to want to make mouse Y input. So we're going to say, we're basically doing the same thing that we did here, except with the Y. So what we can do is we can copy this and paste it, and then we can just change every X for a Y. So we see X, we do Y, we do see X, we do Y. So that we're making our mouse Y input instead of our mouse X input. Okay. So now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to do our output for the X and Y, since we just did the input for our X and Y. So we're going to say output dot x dot current is equal to output dot x dot start plus, and then in parentheses we're going to want to multiply something. So we're going to want to do input dot mouse x dot fraction, and then we're going to want to multiply that by output dot x dot range. Okay, and then we're going to want to do the same, but instead of current, we're going to do opposite. So we're going to say output dot x dot opposite, and then we're going to want to say output.x .end, and then we're going to say minus, we're going to just want to subtract that by the same thing that we put in here. Oop, I'm bad at highlighting things. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to want to subtract that. We're going to want to subtract that from the multiplication of the fraction and the range. This is a lot of math in here. Okay, and now we're going to want to do the same thing for the y. So again, we can just copy and paste this part and change it from x to y. So instead of having x, we can do y. And then make sure when you're doing the fraction, you want to make sure that that's an uppercase y, and then the rest can be lowercase here. Okay, so those are our two outputs. So then we want to actually apply this output to the actual HTML that we wrote. So we're going to want to say faces array dot for each. So for each face, we're going to want to say function face and then k. Okay, and then in between here, we're going to want to put a bracket, just one. And then we'll fix that in a second. So face, we don't have to have a tab, so we can go face dot style dot transform. So we're going to be transforming this face. Now we're going to say we're going to translate and then we're going to say plus output dot x dot opposite. Plus px. We can add the opposite output, so you can say plus opposite dot plus the y opposite, so we can say output dot y dot opposite. Okay, and then we can say plus pixels. Don't forget your parenthesis in there. Okay, now for some reason our output is not changing color. So let's see. Okay, yeah. So I would not enter when you have that, because then our output is not going to be yellow, and we want it to be yellow. So now that we have that, we can close everything like that. Okay, and then once we have this, we're going to want to say, we actually don't need this here. We need another bracket. So we're going to want to add a bracket, and then we can say window dot add event listener, and then we're going to want to say move mouse, and then handle mouse move, which was another function that we created before. And then we want to close that. Okay, so if you see these, nothing's really happening yet, so we want to scroll through. So K here should be lowercase. That's one error that I can already see. So what I want you to do now is I want you to go through your code, because we're all going to have different errors, and I want you to try and fix your errors, and then I will come back to you and show you the way that I fixed my errors. Okay, so once you have gone back and checked for all your errors, we can go back here. I fixed all my errors. One of the things that I forgot to put in the first part of the code is here. you want to make sure you have both mouse X and mouse Y. I'm sure some of you caught that. I did not catch that on first glance. So you want to make sure you have your mouse X, start and current, and you want to have your mouse Y, start and current, and they're basically the same thing, just mouse X and mouse Y are different. So I'm just going to scroll through here. Some of the simple errors that you guys probably made were having your semicolons switched with your colon, or not having an end bracket or an end parenthesis. So I'm just going to scroll through here. Make sure you have your X and Y for our output setup. And I added little comments in here just so once I scroll through you can actually see what each of these does. So this is doing the mouse X input, this is doing the mouse Y input, the output for the X, the output for the Y, and then this is applying it to the HTML as I said before. So I just added those little comments in so you can go back and see, so you can pause anywhere. And this is all for the HTML setup, the input setup. So I just added that. And then once you actually figure out all the errors to your code, you can always email us if you have some weird error that you have no idea how to solve. And we will get to that. So if you touch the face, it does that, the little animation. So the important thing to remember is that the JavaScript is the one that's actually making all this move. The CSS is kind of, it just set us up with what the actual macarons look like, and then the HTML, we just created our classes for all of our different macarons and our box that they are in. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the lesson and you are staying safe and healthy once again. Yeah, thank you. Bye.